Firearms friends, there is always a tremendous selection of World War II era firearms, and our Sporting Collector Firearms auctions are October 4th through 6th. Sporting Collector Firearms auction is no exception. Auction as a whole has nearly 5,000 firearms. Where else are you going to see 5,000 firearms? Come see us the 4th through the 6th, or better yet, October 3rd is a full day of preview. You can come and put your hands on all of these, see if there's something you'd like to add to your collection. Well, let's take a look at these. Of course, the auction has everything from ones you may have never heard about to some fan favorites. And here we have some of the more well-known ones, but maybe a little less than their standard versions. Let's start in the back with an M1 Garand. Of course, not any M1 Garand. This is our M1 Garand sniper rifle. This is the M1D, the later version of the M1C. And yes, it does have its roots in World War II, of course, but the 03A4 was still the official sniper rifle in World War II, but people wanted to put the semi-automatic power of the M1 Garand to use. Well, there were a couple ideas of how to do that. The U.S. Army's idea and John Garand's idea of how to do that. The Army, in their infinite wisdom, decided to take M1Cs, drill some holes in the receiver, about 5 of them, put a dovetailed bar on there, use a Griffin and Howe mount, and of course, put your scope on top. As you can see, those scopes had to be offset, because else with your end block clip you could run into some issues, so they're all offset scopes. The M1C was the Army's idea. John Garand's idea, the M1D, was to essentially turn down a barrel and pin a sight on here. It was cheaper, it was less expensive, it was quicker. So of course the Army declined to use that and went with their own version. Everybody thought it was a good idea, except the Army. So we had the M1C adopted as an official substitute weapon, or I'm sorry, the M1D was therefore an official substitute throughout World War II, and would continue to be an official substitute until Korea, where it became the official version. Nothing the Army likes more than to save money, and the M1D just couldn't be denied. This is actually a really, really attractive version. We have a 5-point flash hider here. We have a new production scope mount, which really does look the part. And you notice we don't have an M81 or an M82 on here, and we don't have an M84, which would have been appropriate for the M1D, especially this one. This is 1952 production, so this is the right era of Garand that you want on here. But we don't have the M84 scope, but we do have a Lyman Alaskan. Still 2.5 magnification, so if you still want the M1 Garand sniper experience, you're gonna have that. Also, the Lyman Alaskans were what were used for the M81, M82, some of the earlier ones that you saw on the M1C. So overall, if you want that M1 Garand sniper experience for about half the price, this is an excellent way to do so. You have the cheek piece, you have an appropriate scope, you even have the nice eye cover here on the back, and of course the appropriate era M1 Garand. Really nice choice of World War II history. Moving across the pond and to some of our combatants, some of the Axis powers, a Luftwaffe drilling. J.P. Sorenson, their M30 drilling. As you may or may not know, 1, 2, 3, German for 3, and this does have 3 barrels. We have 2 shotgun with an under barrel rifle there. Survival weapons for the Luftwaffe pilots. A lot of times you'll see these with the Luftwaffe Eagles. Back here on the barrels. Really, Sorenson at the time, a very, very fine arms maker. Their hunting arms were no exception. Of course, you had Goering putting his 2 cents in for having something like this adopted by the Luftwaffe. These essentially luxury weapons, case hardened, little touches of engraving, cocking indicators here on the back, and of course behind it is our selector. So you slide that forward, and you have a front leaf sight pop up here. So you know you're using your under rifle barrel. That's a 9.3. Sliding it back slides that front sight down, which is probably one of the coolest features about these M30 drillings. I just think that's such a neat touch. Your front trigger fires your right barrel, which would be your birdshot. Your rear trigger would fire your left barrel, which would be for Brennecke slugs. And those ammunitions would all be included in a nice big case that your survival pilot would have with them in their plane. This comes with some of the ammo, not original ammo, but ammo appropriate for the gun. Just a really, really neat piece. World War II history. and really, really fine arms as well. Even if you found one that wasn't an M30, Luftwaffe drilling, if you just found a Sauer & Son drilling like this, what a fantastic gun of the period with some beautiful high-end features on it. I'm going to skip our third selection, go right to the front for a Johnson 1941. Of course, they came in too late to compete with the Pedersen and the Garand. The Garand's adopted in 1936. This doesn't come till far later. But when you can't get your hands on the guns you want, like M1 Garands, boy, the Johnson was able to step in, of course, to that Pacific theater for the U.S. Marine Raiders and their parachutists, their paratroopers, and fighting in places like Macon, fighting in places like Guadalcanal. So incredible history. Of course, the big rotary mag, the quick change barrel, which is short recoil, which of course famously affected the bayonet. Just a lot of great history on the 1941. Such an unusual design. If you saw one of these out at the range, boy, you better be paying attention, especially with this nice big heat shield, very distinct, and of course, big rotary mag underneath. We have seen a notable increase in prices on these pretty recently. So if you've been waiting to pick up a Johnson, I encourage you not to wait any longer. And now let's go to my favorite gun on the table. It's a Remington 1903A4. We already talked about the World War II sniping role that the Garand had, but really the role belonged to the 03A4. Of course, the sniper version of the 03A3. Only Remington produced these sniper rifles. The 03A3s were produced by Remington Smith Corona, but the sniper rifles were reserved for Remington. Remington began producing them in 1941. They had actually unmothballed some machinery from the Rock Island Arsenal. They had mothballed it in 1919. The machinery hasn't been used. Remington begins using it, and in great numbers, it wears out pretty quickly. So Remington starts replacing those, figuring out new ways to do things, some stamped parts, especially some of the barrel hardware. And they realized, well, we need a different designation for this than the 1903. And so the 03A3 is born, and it doesn't take long, of course, for the 03A4 sniper rifle variants to be done. A couple ways you can tell on that. One is, most importantly, the split marking. So to accommodate for the 03A4, if you have this big Redfield Jr. sort of dovetailed mount here on the back, also mounts here on the front of the receiver. So if you have a real 03A4, you'll see that marking split. It'll be over here and on this side. If you have an 03A3 that's just been sort of put in a sniper configuration, you might see the mount covering those markings. Fantastic condition. Of course, no sights on, no irons, very appropriate for an 03A4, that is correct. I'm gonna flip it around here because there are some excellent markings on this side. You have the Frank J. Atwood marking on here, the FJA. You have RA Remington Arms, and of course that big Arsenal crest on there as well. Parkerized, beautiful. A really nice example. I think the only touches of some work are on the bolt and some of the small parts back here. The scope also, another Lyman Alaskan from the period. Still 2.5 mag, still Lyman Alaskan, still appropriate retail scopes. You're still gonna get that experience that you would want out of an 03A4. It's a fantastic gun. Really needs no apologies. You'd be very, very proud to have that one in your collection. So hopefully we've piqued your interest with just 4 guns on the table of the World War II firearms that are in this sale. Again, whether you're looking for British arms, American arms, German arms, long guns, shotguns, handguns, revolvers, it's all gonna be there. It's nearly 5,000 guns in that October 4th through 6th Sporting Collector Firearms Auction. Full preview day, October 3rd. Come see them yourself, put them in your hands, place your bids. Until next time, keep your powder dry.